Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Sports Talk with Broads. We are broadcasting live from the Manscaped Man Cave. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. Look, there's obviously a disconnect between Carson Wentz and Doug Pederson, and it's truly disturbing. Tim McManus even said that their relationship is problematic. Now, what the hell went wrong? Where did this just fall off of a cliff? A couple years ago, we thought we had an MVP quarterback, and we thought we had a championship caliber head coach in Doug Pederson, and all of a sudden, there are so many damn question marks when it comes to this entire organization. And something smells fishy to me. The philosophy seems to be so flawed. And when you look around this city right now, there's a ton of issues. Let's start with the Philadelphia 76ers. We were informed that Elton Brand was going to be making the decisions and that they would be moving on from some front office pieces, probably a lot of the Colangelo crew. Drawing a couple blanks here because I'm trying to evaporate those individuals out of my brain forever. And we haven't heard a damn thing since then. And then we're hearing about how much the front office members, the ownership group, really loves D'Antoni. And that's why he seems to be the one for the job. Well, I was informed Elton Brand was going to be the one. The point is, the reason why I'm bringing that up is the philosophy is garbage with the Sixers. And then let's move on to the Philadelphia Phillies. Jesus, I mean, come on. You give up Sixto Sanchez for JT Realmuto, and then you say 2 days ago that JT Realmuto, you're happy with the 2 years of control that you had? Come on, that's embarrassing. That's a fireable offense type of statement out of Matt Klentak. You have the worst bullpen ever in the history of baseball. You make moves, and then somehow it's even worse. The philosophy upstairs from the Philadelphia Phillies, it doesn't have any logic. And now I'm transforming this into a conversation about the Eagles, and something is not right. You pick Jalen Hurts in the second round. You're still committed to Carson Wentz. You give him all this money. There were some reports out there that Howie Roseman forced Doug Pederson to play Jalen Hurts, to put him in the active roster, to put him on the active roster in that last game because he was getting destroyed. Howie Roseman was getting destroyed for picking him and then him not even being active on game one. So then with your second round pick, he wasn't active. With your third round pick and Davion Taylor, he's a project, right? So in what universe does this all add up? So you give Carson Wentz, your starting quarterback that you paid a lot of money, all these mixed signals. On top of that, his best target, Zach Ertz, is in a feud with the front office about getting paid and what his contract is going to look like down the road. You pick Jalen Hurts. It's so wild, and you wonder why this is going in the direction that it is. Now, that doesn't give Carson Wentz an excuse. He's playing very poorly. He's been one of the worst quarterbacks in football in the last 2 weeks. So I'm not giving him a pass because I don't believe in the direction of this front office. But that doesn't mean I can't acknowledge that something is fishy. And if you're denying that, well, then shame on you. And if you're going to say, if you're one of those Carson Wentz haters and you don't believe in him and you never saw any of his good work somehow, and you claim all you saw were all these bad passes, well, I'm not talking about just this year. I'm talking about overall throughout his career at this point. And if you feel that way about him, yet you also feel the way that Howie Roseman should be fired because he can't draft, then why are you just assuming that Jalen Hurts is going to work? Because if that's the case, he drafted Derek Barnett. He drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He drafted Davion Taylor, who can't even play. And if that's the case, that means Carson Wentz failed. He drafted Carson Wentz. So now the same people that think Carson Wentz sucks and Howie Roseman sucks automatically believe that Jalen Hurts is ready to step in and start winning football games with this team. See, I can't get behind that. That's where when I look at the philosophies around, I go, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, with that logic, I go, that doesn't really make much sense. There's no doubt, though, that there needs to be a fix. You need to somehow change this. Is it possible that Carson Wentz is that hard to work with? He's that stubborn? You can't rule anything out of the equation at this point. We heard the reports before. We heard the Alshon Jeffrey news, so we thought it was Alshon Jeffrey, so we assumed it was Alshon Jeffrey, and we still assume that. The whole relationship with Josina Anderson, the story comes out. You could believe it. You might not want to believe it at the time. I thought it was nonsense, but now, seeing what's going on, how can I rule it out? It's possible. I'm not saying it's true, but can it be possible? Absolutely. I see him fail in these games. I see him throwing interceptions that he should never throw. I see him missing wide open throws, throwing behind targets, throwing too far ahead of targets, holding onto the ball too long, not scanning the entire field. The mechanics are off. And I don't see anyone going up to Carson Wentz on the sideline, giving him a tap, saying, hey, let's go QB1. We'll figure this thing out. Hey, let's get him next series. I don't feel that. Now, I don't feel that all around the entire team. There was a guy last year in Malcolm Jenkins who would be that energy boost, who would be that guy. It doesn't seem to be that way right now. Heads are down, body language is poor, nobody's talking on the sidelines. That's a problem. Now, Malcolm Jenkins, early in that Monday Night Football game against the Raiders, he had a monster sack. Everyone thought Malcolm Jenkins still had some left to play. And then throughout the game, Derek Carr was picking on him. It turned real quick for him, and he showed that he was a step slow. I expect Malcolm Jenkins to bounce back, but my point of bringing him up is there is no guy at this point that seems to be the leader. Now, isn't it supposed to be the quarterback? Absolutely. But there are other leaders out there as well on the football field and on this 53-man roster. Supposedly, there should be, at least, is what I'm getting at. There should be. And it doesn't seem to be the case. I don't see people running over to QB1 showing him confidence, showing him that they believe in him. And there's something to that. Now let's get to the media side of things. It's been bad. Doug Pederson has had a whole new concept when it comes to the media. Before, it was protect the players, protect the players, protect the players, protect the players. Now, it's starting to transition a little bit. Monday, after the game, Zach Berman of The Athletic asked Doug Pederson a question. And he said, why has Carson Wentz regressed? And maybe it was because of the Zoom call. Maybe something cut out. I heard it perfectly. And Doug Pederson said, progressed? As if he thought Zach Berman said progressed. And he was shocked. Shocked that he said progressed. Because it's obvious that he is going in the other direction. And then he continues to go down the road of, good question. Good question. So that tells me, one, Doug Pederson doesn't really have the answers. And as a head coach, your job is to fix the issues, right? And you can only do so much. I get it. It ultimately goes down to the quarterback making the right throws, making the right reads. So it goes on Carson Wentz. But as a head coach in the NFL, if things are going south, if things are going wrong with the quarterback, it is on you to try and fix that and put him in the best scenario so he does succeed. And I don't think that Doug Pederson is doing that. I want to finish my point on this media session, though. Normally, you would get something like this out of Doug Pederson. I don't really think he has regressed. We just have to figure some things out and maybe fix a couple issues. I could probably put him in a better spot to succeed, and we'll fix the situation by maybe different play calls to get him different looks. Something along those lines. Coach speak. It's that simple. Doug Pederson was a coach speak kind of guy. Now, it's like he's going down the road of going public with Carson Wentz. And I think that there is a reason behind that. And it goes back to something Tim McManus said of it is problematic, the relationship between the two. It is problematic. Now he's starting to get a lot more vocal to the media about it. And maybe that's Doug Pederson trying to make a statement like, look, I'm trying my best. This guy's too stubborn. This guy isn't giving us what we need him to give us. I'm not giving Doug Pederson a free pass, though. I'm not sold on Doug Pederson anymore, and here's why. Over the last couple of years, if you told me something bad about Carson Wentz, I would defend him. Now, I would acknowledge it. I wasn't saying that Carson Wentz didn't have any flaws. There were issues with his game, but he was able to overcome it. It wasn't the dumpster fire that it is now. Yes, he missed some throws. His accuracy wasn't outstanding, but he did get to the team to the postseason, and granted, The division was bad. The NFC East was very poor. There are a lot of things that factor into the equation. But he wasn't the worst quarterback in the NFL bad. Well, second to worst. That's where he lands right now, I believe, in front of Kirk Cousins. He was never this atrocious. All right? He was never this atrocious. So over the last couple of years, I would defend him and go, look at what he did, though. Look at what he showed you when he was at the top of his game. It's special. When he plays at the top of his game, it's very special. Does he do it enough? Great question. But I would defend him. And I would do the same with Doug. And look how quickly everything has changed with Carson Wentz. Now I have no idea. I have no clue what he is. So many question marks involved. I don't know what version of Carson Wentz we are going to get on Sundays, and that's a terrible position to be as an organization. But I will say the same about Doug Pederson. I don't know what Doug Pederson we're going to get. So over the last handful of seasons, I go, look, this guy won a Super Bowl. This guy won a championship in this city, and he looked great doing it. And the offense was flowing, and it was magnificent. But how quickly things change with Carson Wentz, now I have to question myself, and I go, can the same happen to Doug Pederson? We thought Carson Wentz was so damn solid in 2017. We thought he was going to be an upper echelon type quarterback in this league, and all of a sudden, he's being compared to Jameis Winston. Now, I'm not giving up on him. He deserves the respect and the opportunity to work himself out of this funk. It's not Jalen Hurts' season. It's Carson Wentz figure it the hell out season and play better. Be a better quarterback because you can be a better quarterback. You're not the second to worst quarterback in the NFL. So it's on you to pick it the hell up. He needs help. He needs guidance. That's what the coaching staff is for. And all these new voices, that's what they're for. But Carson, let's go, right? Come on now. Put it together. Take some stress off of you. Don't worry about the pressure. Play loose. Play fun. Enjoy the game. He's not enjoying the game right now. And we thought we had it, and it switched so quickly. So when I look at Doug Pederson, I think, well, if it switched so quickly for Carson Wentz, couldn't the same happen to Doug Pederson? Doug Pederson was a major issue in game one. You're up 17 points. He calls these plays where he's chucking the ball downfield constantly, play after play after play. When you have a Washington football team that is dead in the water and can't move the ball whatsoever. You can't move the ball. The Washington football team could not move the ball, yet here he is dropping Carson Wentz back billions of times to chuck the ball downfield. It didn't make any sense. Terrible game plan, awful game plan, losing game plan. Now in game two, I still got on Doug Pederson because if I looked at the two offenses, one looked way different than the other. Carson Wentz was so pathetic, it's hard to dial in with a super intense microscope on Doug Pederson, but I still like to look at him and go, you got outcoached in game two. Whether Carson was more of an issue or not, Doug Pederson got outcoached in game two. And over the last couple of years, they did make the playoffs. But 9-7 doesn't normally make you the playoffs in the previous systems of postseason football. And if they played in any other division, they would have been looking at a spot where they haven't made the playoffs since what happened in 2017. And that has to go on Doug Pederson as well. It has to. Jim Schwartz, by the way, was vocal to the public as well during the media, and he said, what did he go down? He went down the road of, I got to put the blame on me. I got to put the blame on scheme. Yet at the same time, he threw his players under the bus. You know, Brandon Graham, he's a great player. He normally doesn't make the mistakes that he made. I taught them the right idea, but they weren't able to execute. And then he kept falling back to, well, look, it's on me and my scheme. It wasn't really adding up because he said he needed to change things. He needed to change things with his scheme, yet the scheme was there, but the players didn't execute. All over the place with Jim Schwartz. By the way, this episode is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power, and with over 20 years of experience in the solar industry, they are home to your experts in both residential and commercial projects. They offer flexible financing solutions such as $0 down. In addition, they will make sure you receive all the state and federal incentives available for switching to solar. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. And I also want to let you know about BetQL because I've made some poor decisions over the last couple of days when it comes to betting sports. BetQL gives you all the analytics, all the trends, and where all the professional bettors are betting. Yet, I went against them, and I lost. Shame on me. Now I just follow them. I follow all of the sharp money, which is the professional bets. And when I start to do that, I start to bring in all the cash. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. Now, it makes a lot of sense, right? Follow the professionals in the business. And now here I am starting to cash in a bit more and making my money back. You have to try this. If you go to betql.com and use code BRODES20, you will get 20% off of your first subscription. It's so worth it. You're getting all of the analytics for all of the games. It's handing you money on a platter. It's on you to take it. Sports betting, it rules the world now. It does. And guess what? I got a mortgage to pay, all right? It's definitely helping now that I got all the info that I need. Sayumalu's injury looks to be longer term than maybe we expected. Although I thought Matt Pryor slid in the left guard and did a fine job. You have Brown, who they picked up off the Bears practice squad, who does have experience in this league. Although it wasn't pretty for him last season, he does have experience, and I don't think it's a bad pickup to have somebody like Brown available for if anything does happen to a specific spot on the line that he will be able to fulfill. Well, the problem is, though, now when you look at this team and you look at Schwartzy, who doesn't really change his scheme too much, that's why it was also a little funny to me when he's talking about changing some things. You don't change anything, Jim Schwartz. This is who you are. And I'm not a Jim Schwartz hater whatsoever. I like Jim Schwartz. He gets a lot of bad rap towards him because why? Because he allows some plays to happen. And I'm not saying he's perfect by any means, but people always want the second option. Look around the league at all the defensive coordinators. Jim Schwartz does a good job as a D coordinator. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't mean the Eagles should keep him forever. Maybe it's a situation where there needs to be a new voice. I'm not saying you got to keep the guy forever, but the bash that he gets, I don't think it's deserved as much as he gets. But he did not have a strong game 2 in this season. There's no denying that. On tape, attack the linebackers. It's pretty simple. These NFL coaches are smart. Win the game by attacking the linebackers. These linebackers stink. They're not good enough. They're not able to do anything. And then factor in, I didn't think Jalen Mills was strong. Roby Coleman is a cone. He's literally a cone that these players are running around with ease and getting wide open. I expected way better out of Roby Coleman. He's been a disaster to this point. So I'm afraid that Joe Burrow is going to have an opportunity to execute against this secondary and in the middle of the field. Especially if the defensive line that gets paid a ton of money, especially if they can't find any way to generate pressure. It's troublesome. Not that BG's a big sack guy, and he did have the sack last game, but he also missed a lot of plays that he normally excels at. And I would say the amount that he missed does not really compare to the one play that he made. The one play that he made? No. Nope. Not enough for the amount that you missed. You can't expect Josh Sweat to generate that much. Derek Barnett stinks. Awful pick. Garbage pick. You got to rely on Fletcher Cox to get some penetration through the interior. Javon Hargrave is going through the pec injury. I'm shocked he even played. Malik Jackson. There's a lot of money in the front. And I believe and support the philosophy of building up front with the defense, allow them to get pressure and go with that mindset. The problem is, though, they're not getting pressure. You need to get pressure. And it's not as easy as just go blitz. Come on, Schwartz, go blitz. Who's blitzing? You don't have good blitzers on this team. It's an art. It's a skill set to blitz. Nate Gary, that's going to be your blitzer? I hate to break it to you. He's not this unbelievable blitzer. It's not that simple. And when you do that, won't there be somebody maybe available underneath in that area where they can do even more damage? Blitzing doesn't stop the bleeding. The other team can easily make a play in that scenario, and then you scream at Jim Schwartz and say, well, why did you blitz? You left the whole part of the field wide open. Interesting. Just interesting. All around, though, I have terrible vibes with this team at the moment. I don't trust Doug Pederson. I don't trust Carson Wentz. I don't trust Howie Roseman, and I do not trust Jeffrey Lurie. I don't trust him. I think he has too much voice. Because I'm starting to see the same problems with the Eagles that I see with the Phillies and that I see with the Sixers. And I know for a fact that those two organizations have no clue how to run properly. Because all the way up top, there is a problem. Now, Jeffrey Lurie has had success in this city. I'm not trying to make it out to say that he's on David Blitzer level, okay? Because he's obviously smarter than them. But I'm just seeing the comparisons between poorly ran organizations right now. And there's something off. It's so obvious, right? It's so obvious that something is off. From quarterback to head coach to GM to owner. It's not flowing properly. The communication isn't there. And something else that I want to throw in there. I know this may sound silly, but I think that this just defines how I feel about this entire core at the moment. When the whole right guard, Jason Peters problem was occurring, when there was a hole at left tackle, and by the way, I talk about poor draft picks, not that we know what Andre Dillard is right now, and there was a time where I was more optimistic on him than I am at the moment. It doesn't seem like, he's this magnificent left tackle. There seems to be some confusion on his mentality and things of that nature as well, so just throw that down the list of issues with Howie Roseman and some of his draft picks over the last handful of seasons. The whole right guard problem, when left tackle was wide open. How many days did you spend with Matt Pryor playing left tackle when this guy didn't have a shot in hell of doing it? In what universe are you now starting a season during COVID-19 when you are already limited in action and in training camp and no preseason games, that you are just going to waste time with Matt Pryor at left tackle, knowing that that wasn't even going to be the case at all? And people will claim, look, Jason Peters is a left tackle Hall of Fame player. He doesn't need practice. Well, that's weird that you say that, because he looked different in game 1 compared to game 2. And it's almost as if snaps matter to him. It's almost as if he needed more time. And yes, there's a difference between camp, practice, and live game action against the Washington football team to get some snaps underneath of his belt. But it's just the mindset. It's just the idea that you're going to waste time with JP playing right guard when you know he's going to slide over. When you know Matt Pryor has no business at all even touching that position, to the point where you had Mailata, Jack Driscoll, and Nate Herbig playing before him on that right side, after Matt Pryor played the previous year in a postseason game at the right guard position. So do you see why I'm frustrated? Do you see why I look around and I have so many damn questions on how this is being ran? Because I can get behind if I see an idea, if I can see a blueprint where I go, you know what, this at least makes sense from a philosophy standpoint. None of this makes sense. The only thing that makes sense is they don't believe in Carson Wentz so much that they are trying to secretly move on from him by drafting Jalen Hurts, putting him in a position to fail, and then sneakily, like a little snake, trying to weave him out of the starting quarterback position. And if that is their philosophy, shame on them, because that is like the most embarrassing way to go about this. If they really felt that they made a mistake in Carson Wentz after giving him the big contract and and they wanted to put Jalen Hurts in there, then you do it like a professional. You don't try and tiptoe your way around things and sneak around things. That's embarrassing from a professional sports franchise. So if that's the way that they are wired, we are in trouble. We're in trouble. Sunday's going to be interesting. They opened up as a pretty heavy favorite. In what world? Now, I'll be checking my BetQL app and BetQL.com. They have an app as well. Make sure you download it. I'll be checking that out to see where all the sharp money's at. Right now, though, at this moment, clearly I'm down on the Eagles. Incredible stuff. It really is. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.